On the way to the Mystery Cave, I stopped at Hampton so the others could go to the restrooms, and this is now the farthest south I've ever been, and I'm only going more and more south. This is just a panorama as to what the scene looks like. The Cannon Falls area, just some nice scenery zipping by. Now in Stewartville, just past Rochester and still going south, setting new records on the farthest south they've ever been. There might actually be a surprise later on too, and not just the cave either. Wonder what that might be. Well, if it happens, you'll see it. Just to give you the usual panorama. Elaine's Cafe in Spring Valley, just a restaurant area. Tried some other one with Bob in it, but it was closed.
Oh, there's that. Okay. They never did nothing to my car. How did I get this special stuff on my windows? Think about it. It's kind of dumb, isn't it? Is that an eagle? White all over this road.
Gravel?
Doesn't that look weird? Yeah.
There's another sign ahead.
Wonder what that is.
Alfalfa.
You and your alfalfa. You don't even know what the damn thing is.
Horse food, that's all.
You've never seen what it even looks like, have you?
No.
Mystery Cave, to the right.
But everything's alfalfa.
Unless it's yellow, then it's just ugly. Okay, great.
This is a cool road, look that way. I don't know why, but wonder what this stuff is.
Corn.
Yeah, what do you know? She said something other than alfalfa.
Pretty here though, isn't it?
Yeah. I like the white road myself. Mystery Cave Road.
Road's twisting around a lot.
Think you can find your way out of here?
Still all the same.
State Park.
This is great.
Wow. Pretty in here.
Cave tours, picnic area. Do that. I like state parks. They're pretty.
This is no state park, is it? Yep.
Yeah.
It's State Park.
Forest Wilderness Great Cave State Park.
You have to pay entrance fee? Nina's already got it. Well, how much do I owe you, Tina?
Listen.
No.
Nope.
Behave yourself.
Your money's no good.
Okay. I don't like this road down. That's nice. I feel like I'm getting shifted out. Keep right. Well, fine. Thank you so much.
I'll follow us now and ask for information.
Yeah, that's what you guys are going to do. Go look and find out.
See, there's a tourist right there.
You'll find out about it.
Put your head
Move.
And a rare sight. What do you know? A payphone. That's what the scenes you saw before were all various scenes from the inside the main building where you get your tickets from. Next up is a scene of the tickets, and then the main cave tour itself. Getting excited? A lot of bees right next to a familiar sign. I showed you the scene earlier. I just happened to see them.
Cave in the winter. We did see a couple in the cave this morning on my earlier tours, so they may still be in there, but just not in there in the numbers that they are in the fall and the spring. One of the places they like to live around here when they're outside for the summer is these bat houses that are on top of posts, and you'll see them scattered all throughout this area here. They can get up to about 200 bats in a house like that. Our bats are generally small, about the size of your thumb, and then they'll come out tonight and they'll eat over half their body weight in mosquitoes and moths and other insects. And they do that all summer long until they go into hibernation then in the fall. So if you can kind of compare that to yourself, think of your favorite food, and then think about half your body weight and eating that much every night. All summer, you'd probably get sick of that food, plus which you'd get really, really fat, and they need to, because that's what they're going to live on then when they go into hibernation for the next several months till spring comes again. So we love our bats. We got some very sad news a couple weeks ago. You might have read about it or heard about it. The fungus that causes white nose syndrome, which kills bats, is here in our cave. And so that's going to probably mean the end of most of our bats here. The way the white nose syndrome works is the fungus gets inside the bat's nose, and it will plug that up with fungus, and then the bat can't breathe right. And so in the middle of hibernation, it will wake up probably thinking it's spring or what's wrong. It doesn't know. It flies outside the cave, and it freezes just like that. So. And the other way the fungus affects the bat is to use up its energy. It uses up that fat just to support itself, so the bats will starve in the middle of winter. So it affects the bats those two main ways. It does not affect us. It does not affect any other animals, just bats. And the way we can help prevent the spread of this disease is if you go to visit another cave after leaving here, is to wipe off the bottoms of your shoes and use different clothes than what you use today. So the fungus attaches itself to nubby surfaces, and so if we can just dress in something different, wipe off our shoes, that will help keep the spread down. Any questions about that?
No known cures? Anybody trying to find
They
it?
are. Researchers are working day and night to try to find a cure for this, because if we lose our bats, we lose important pollinators and important control for insects. Yeah, nothing yet. Well, okay then, we'll keep on going here.
Found that in the house at Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. There was some hope that the Mississippi River and Lake Superior would provide a barrier for the fungus would cross, but it didn't work out that way.
What are these signs here?
They tell you a little bit about the cave and how it formed, and about the river here. So when the tour is over, you might find that interesting to read that. It'll kind of supplement what you hear on the tour today.
Dodge the stairs, go up the ramp. Bump. Most of the exposure setting I need to fiddle around with.
They have dates on them, and those are flood lines. And they indicate 100-year floods. And you'll notice all the dates are within this last decade. So we've been having 100-year floods every couple of years. That's been a real drastic change here in this area.
well, it's not the newest one,
This one is further down.
Looks like a pretty shallow river.
So we just crossed the south branch of the Root River, R-O-O-T, just like tree root. And starting about 500,000 years ago, this river was a lot higher and wider, had a lot more force and volume to it. It would push its way into cracks and crevices. If you look over on this side, you can see how fractured our rock is. And it would start dissolving some of those, to the point where today we can fit inside those places that got dissolved, and that's what we call Mystery Cave. So if it weren't for this river right here, we wouldn't have Mystery Cave. And although it looks very calm and peaceful and pretty shallow today, because of those lines you cross back there, you know it can get pretty feisty. All great.
Doesn't this remind you of Sentis Caverns and Platform Masters?
Working your way down through cracks and crevices, but to keep this opening above the door, that just makes it a little easier for them to fly in and out of the cave. And there's an opening above the second set of doors we'll be going through too. It's harder to see than this one, but that does help them save a little energy getting into the cave. Yep. Really?
Definitely gotta up the exposure now.
There it is. So this area we're in right now is called a portal, and we will get into the cave as soon as we pass through those doors. But this area is here to help slow down how quickly the warm outer temperatures meet the cool inner temperatures. If that happens too fast, the cave rock will actually start to flex, and the next thing you know, it can break down. So we don't want that to happen here, especially not when we're on the tour. So we've taken this precaution, and then when you get through those doors, you'll notice some fortifications that have been put up also to help keep that rock up there where we want it to stay. This cave was bought by state tax dollars in 1988, and it cost $250,000. That was a hefty sum, but it was considered a bargain basement price. And after that, the state went to work laying down these sidewalks, putting in these handrails and the light grids and the in-ground lights, all for the purpose of making this part of the tour handicap accessible. What that means is people in wheelchairs can get down here to see this cave, as well as people who have strollers. So they get down here and when they would normally maybe wouldn't get to see a cave. So that's pretty special. The first person to ever enter this cave was named Joe Petty. And if we could make a cut right through the concrete here, go up through the earth to the base of a tree that is no longer standing, we would be very near where Joe was when he first came into this cave. A lot of caves in this part of the state were used by Native American people. They used them for shelter and also for flint knapping. They used shallow caves. There is no indication that they ever knew about or used this cave. So Joe Petty was probably the very first person, and that was 76 years ago. He had been digging a grave about 3 miles from here. It was the late 30s. People just recovering from the Depression. Times were hard. Joe did what he could to earn a buck. And one of those things was to dig graves by hand. So he had dug the grave. He was walking back home, and his house was very near where our visitor center is now. The river was frozen, and he looked up on the snow-covered hillside. And there was a mound of mud with steam rising from it. He got curious. So he took the crowbar that he had with him, and he dug around in the mud. And the next thing you knew, that crowbar had slipped through his hands. And it took Joe a long time to hear it go thunk. So he knew there had to be a big hole under there. He went home and he got a rope ladder, he got some light, and he went and talked to a neighbor, talked that neighbor into coming out here to dig. And they dug until 5 o'clock the next morning, and then they found what you're going to see today and more. So that's the story of how this cave came to be, to our attention anyway. Okay, a couple things to remember while we're on the tour. Please always stay behind me. Please keep your feet on the flat part of the walkway. There is one thing you can touch in this cave as much as you want, but it is the only thing, and that is handrails, okay? If you need to leave the tour for any reason, let me know. I'll get you up and out quickly and safely, and you can go back and get a refund. All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
The door opens.
Here we go.
Switching hands. Yeah, I could just jump down that anyway.
All right, so you've all gotten very near a bat just now. I was wondering if it would still be there, and it is. It's right above our heads. The bat we're going to look at is called a little brown, and it is a full-grown bat. Oh, there it is. There it is. And you can see how it's clinging to the rock with its little tiny toenails at the back of its body. And it has one thumb here, and I think a thumb over there that is also helping it stay put. Bats always hang upside down unless they're giving birth, and then they hang with their head upright, and they make a basket out of their wings. The baby drops into that basket. It crawls up on its mother's body. She flies around with it for about 3 weeks, and it grows during that time, so much so that it gets heavy for her, and she can't carry it anymore. So she parks it somewhere safe and continues to feed it for another 3 or 4 weeks. And that's all the longer it takes for that bat to have grown enough that it can leave its mother and do its own thing. So, short childhood.
How often do they have babies?
Once a year, and they only usually have one. That's why this disease is so devastating too, because there's just not a lot of reproduction going on. Yeah. All right, well, come on over here. We're going to start by stepping out onto a steel grid. You'll have several of these to cross on the tour. There's always something interesting beneath your feet when you cross these, but if you don't particularly like looking down, just look straight ahead because they usually don't last very long. This first one slopes about 10 feet out, so please be aware of that. You might want to grab onto a handrail here just till you get used to what these feel like. All right, down we go.
I wonder what this switch box is.
Turns the lights off.
You scared? You got it? You okay?
Yeah.
You want to go back?
No, I just couldn't see that.
It's okay.
It's a sturdy piece of metal. This is about as close as you can get to actually exploring a real cave.
Okay.
Watch my speed a little bit. Okay, so I've taken the left path.
Sorry. If you look back at where we just were, the lights are gone now. That will happen all throughout the tour. Once we pass through a place, the lights will turn out. And so I just don't want to accidentally leave anybody in the dark. Just want you to have that piece of information. We're going to see lots of formations. This is one of the more common ones. It's called flow stone. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how it comes to be here. And every formation you see in this cave is basically formed the same way. So if you look around, you see all these layers of rock, layer after layer after layer. And above us, the underside of a layer of rock. And above that layer, there's yet more layers of rock till you finally get to the top of the earth. Where, of course, there's soil and grass and all sorts of plants and animals wandering around up there. When rain and melting snow come down through that soil layer, they pick up a lot of carbon dioxide gas. And that changes them to acid. And acid, you know, has the power to dissolve things. So they get down beneath the soil layer and they can start dissolving rock, which they do. And if they get into a crack that leads here into the cave, down they dribble with all that dissolved rock inside. That rehardens on the cave walls and becomes then what we call flow stone. And like I said, that'll be the case for every formation you see in this cave. What will make the difference is how the water comes out of the rock as to how the formation looks. Now, if you drink Pepsi-Cola or Coca-Cola or any carbonated soft drink, you're drinking the same acid that the rain and snow change to do this to solid rock. It's called carbonic acid, and carbonic acid loves calcium. There's a lot of calcium in our rock, that's what it goes after. Calcium in our teeth and our bones, and it can go after that in our bodies as well. So the best thing you can do after you finish that pop is to rinse your mouth out with tap water. That will help neutralize things, but I don't know, might help preserve our bones and teeth a little longer. It's hard to give up that pop. There's a chunk of flowstone over here. If you'd like an opportunity to touch something that's not a handrail, here it is, and it's your old one. So go ahead and touch it if you'd like to. Yeah.
Really soft. Another one of those boxes. Oh, won't do another fast.
So sinkholes often lead to caves, and our area here is very susceptible to sinkholes. This county, Fillmore County, is known 10,000 sinkholes. And if you look above your heads, you'll see a big crack there in the ceiling rock. Above that crack, there's only about 4 feet of rock and earth. Every spring that crack has gotten just a little wider. We know there will come a tipping point where it's not able to hold up what's above, and what's up there is going to join what's down here beneath our feet that has previously fallen from the sides and the ceiling in this big chamber. We'll be able to look up there and see the sky when that happens, and then this indeed becomes a sinkhole. So, and it will lead to Mystery Cave. So I don't know if any of you have visited Niagara Cave, but and I heard the story about how in the early 30s a farmer lost 3 pigs down the sinkhole, and he went to find them, and lo and behold, there was a cave at the bottom of the sinkhole along with his pig, which he did rescue. And Niagara Cave now is one of the most famous caves in the world, actually. We're now going to step over the top of the sinkhole. There is another cave beneath us. It's all part of the Mystery Cave system, but in places its ceiling has broken through. And so you're going to be able now to look down and see the basement of that cave. Just a little patch up.
Oh, that really does go a long way down.
Some things are scary, aren't they?
Wow, yeah, it goes on down about, getting left behind.
Now, this is pretty.
So before the cave was here and before there was a river to carve it, there had to be rock. How did that get here? Well, if we go back far enough in time, there was ocean covering this part of the earth. And in the ocean, there were animals with shells. And when they died, the shells would settle on the bottom, and the weight of water above would crush them and pulverize them. And eventually, all that pressure changed them into rock. We call this rock today limestone, and that's about a foot thick layer of it. You drove into this cave over crushed limestone. You're standing on concrete, which has a lot of limestone in it. If you've ever had chalk in your hand, you've held a form of limestone. If you have marble countertops, that's another form of limestone. The uses we humans have found for limestone are endless. And a lot of landowners around here make some pretty good money opening up their property for quarries for limestone. Well, every now and then, the ocean would recede, and left behind would be mud and sand, and that would eventually harden into rock too. We call that rock shale. So that's between the limestone layers. And then the ocean would build back up again. You'd get another layer of limestone. It would go away. You'd get another layer of shale. And this coming and going of ocean occurred over the eons. And right up here, in this layer of limestone, which is about 450 million years old, is a fossil of the animal that was probably top predator in the ocean depths back then. And here it is, and if you all want to come a little closer, I think you'll all get a good chance to see it.
See it, Kathy? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's where it is. Okay, I see it now.
So 450 million years ago, and these animals are still with us today. They don't have shells on the outside anymore. In these days they did, because what you're looking at is its fossilized shell. Coming out of this end of the shell would have been its head with 2 large eyes and tentacles and arms that extended far beyond. Does that remind you of anything today? Squid. Yes, and this is indeed an ancient squid. Very intelligent animals. They belong to a larger group called the cephalopods, which of course includes the octopus, the nautilus, and the cuttlefish. And scientists who've done research on these animals have proved how intelligent they are. I don't know if any of you saw that PBS special where they put an octopus in a tank with a jar of food that an octopus would like, and the jar lid was screwed on tightly, and it took that octopus just a matter of minutes to unscrew the jar lid, pull out the food, and eat it.
Oh my goodness.
So, very smart. But you look at the size of that and you say, well, you know, top predator, that looks pretty small for a top predator. Well, that's because it's a baby. The longest one of these ever found as a fossil from this time period is about the length of a school bus.
Oh my God.
So, and that's just the shell. That would not have included the tentacles and arms.
See? Yeah. He's just in case he's... Go ahead, Grandma.
Yeah, I have a flashlight.
So then we can... Go. I know, that's why I want Nina to go ahead of me.
Hang on a second, that's what I was trying to do. We need better lights in here.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I feel for the slopes and I adjust my speed accordingly.
So off to our right here is the area we call the bottomless pit. If you look against the far wall, you'll see a hole. That hole just keeps going down and down and down. Where it stops, nobody knows. So hence the name bottomless pit. It was drilled there by water. And so we aren't going to go that direction. We're going to go to the left here through what's known as the Big Squeeze. There are a couple of steps, and there's a handrail here if you'd like to use that. And good luck to everybody.
Good enough. Is there? I don't see one. Is it? No, I don't see one.
Handrails on the left.
Two on this side. Turn it up. See it? There you go.
Step right.
Watch your steps now, Nina. Up Grandma.
I can't see.
Nina.
I'm trying to get the flashlight on.
Thank you. Couple more to go. Where's
That's
everybody?
it.
All right. Success. All right, we'll go up the steps here.
Weren't we just here?
So right here in this spot, we're about 45 feet now beneath the top of the earth. So up here on the ceiling are some more formations, pretty common. These are to any cave you'll ever visit. These are called stalactites. Easy way to remember, you say stalactite holds tight to the ceiling so it won't fall off. They all start with a single drip of water that comes through a crack or a hole. That drip lays down a ring of dissolved rock, and then another drip and another ring, and that process continues till finally you get some growth. And if you look at my thumb and finger here, it's about a little less than a ½ inch. That's the average growth rate for stalactites here in this cave in 100 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah, even these short ones are quite old. The dripping from the stalactites might cause one of these to grow from the bottom up. These are the stalagmites, which might grow enough to reach a stalactite, like it's happened here and there. And then they're just called columns, plain old columns.
Columns?
Columns, yep, just like in a building, a column, yep. Or in a newspaper column. They generally start out as hollow tubes and they're nicknamed soda straws. The middles generally will fill up after a while, and then the water runs down around the outside, and they get nicknamed icicles or carrots. And if the water angles out a little differently, they're called shark's teeth. And here you see examples of all those different things. The soda straws, the columns, the carrots, and the shark's teeth. And lots of glowstones. We're going to hike back out of this passage the same way we came in, and we usually say goodbye to Fluffy, our flowstone hamster here, before we leave. Does everybody see Fluffy?
No.
He's over that direction.
Oh, I see it now.
Where?
Right there, my camera's pointing toward it.
Oh yeah, that little pink thing. That little, I see its little ear back there.
Yes.
Right next to them.
Yeah, I got my camera's pointing right at it.
Next to that off.
Look at his camera.
And look at how brave Fluffy is. I mean, look what he's sitting on. If you move out this way, there's an eye and a big flaring nostril, and look at all those teeth. Right on the head of a crocodile. Yeah. We'll go this way.
I'll never catch you. No, that took me either. I got it.
It's kind of moist.
There's a hand.
Breaks. Dead end.
There's a bird.
Oh, there's another spot down there. Can't really see it too well.
Niggers, come on, the lights go off. I'm behind you. Nina's in front of you. There's steps here, Nina. You gotta tell us.
It's the wrong direction.
It's cool, don't it? Yeah. That summer day is good.
Take the speed to 6 miles an hour.
Stay in the middle. There's a restaurant. Right there. Look at that, it's good. Okay, you're doing okay. Straight ahead. I got you. Straight ahead. Nina, go first.
I'm waiting to do it.
So she does. She falls, you can catch her.
Wow.
Better not, wait.
It really goes down.
So after this cave was opened up in 1937, the owners wanted to make a little extra money beyond what the admission was, which I think was 10 cents in those days. So what they did is to put in a wishing well right here in this spot. And people would come by and throw in their coins and make their wish. And the tours in those days were huge. They could be like 40, 50 people at a time. And the owners started getting a little bit nervous about, well, you know, somebody at the back of the tour, if they were not of the best intentions, could be grabbing the coins back out of that pool and we'd never know it. So what they did is they put Lonesome George right up here in this little alcove. What Lonesome George was a human skull.
Oh.
Yeah. They must have been easier to come by in those days. But anyway, yeah, so they put Lonesome George there, and he was supposed to deter anybody from doing something they shouldn't. When the state bought the cave, the Lonesome George had disappeared. We have no idea where Lonesome George is today, but we have it well documented. He certainly did exist at some point.
What happened to the whale?
When the state said that was not a natural feature of the cave, and so they took it out. So.